The cameras weren't even rolling when the whisper hit the blogspot by sunrise. The internet was already on fire. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high, and a once solid relationship was suddenly dangling over a cliff. The headline alone sent shockwaves through the reality TV universe. Shock twist, Yandy forgives Mendeecees even after his night with Erica Mena. And just like that, every group chat exploded, every timeline refreshed. And every fan asked the same question: how could forgiveness come after that? According to sources close to the situation, the night in question wasn't just a rumor, was a ticking time bomb. Mendeecees Harris, fresh off a string of public appearances where he praised loyalty and growth, was allegedly spotted slipping into a private lounge after hours. Waiting there, none other than Erica Mena, a name that alone carries history, heat, and unresolved tension. The room was dim, the music was loud, and what happened next would ripple through families, friendships, and fanbases alike. But the real jaw-dropper didn't come from the alleged betrayal, it came from the aftermath. Because when the story broke, everyone expected one reaction: rage, heartbreak, a public meltdown. Instead, the world watched in disbelief as Yandy Smith made a move no one saw coming. No screaming live video, no cryptic quotes, no dramatic unfollow spree, just a calm, calculated silence, followed by forgiveness. Fans are shocked, comment sections are in chaos, and the family was left divided. As insiders claim, Yandy's decision didn't just stun the audience, it stunned the people closest to her. Friends reportedly begged her to walk away. Family members questioned her strength. And Erica, sources say she didn't expect forgiveness to be part of the storyline at all. What really happened that night? What words were exchanged behind closed doors? And what kind of emotional reckoning leads a woman to forgive when the world expects her to burn it all down? This isn't just another cheating rumor, this is a collision of pride, history, love, and survival, playing out under the harshest spotlight imaginable. Stay right here, because as we peel back the layers, the twists only get deeper, and by the end, you may find yourself questioning everything you thought you knew about loyalty, betrayal, and the true cost of forgiveness. The moment the rumor surfaced, it didn't creep in quietly. It crashed through the doors of social media like a storm nobody could escape. Phones buzzed non-stop, blogs refreshed by the second, and fans who thought they had seen every twist reality TV could offer suddenly felt that familiar chill of something darker, messier, and far more personal. Mendeecees had always been controversial, but this time felt different. This time, the whispers carried a name that changed everything: Erica Mena, a name tied to history, unresolved tension, and emotional scars that never quite healed. And at the center of it all, stood Yandy.com on the outside, but according to those closest to her, battling a war inside her chest that no camera could fully capture. It was said the night started innocent enough. A private gathering, industry people, familiar faces, low lights, and loud music. Mendeecees arrived late, hoodie pulled low, scanning the room as if he already knew being there was a mistake. Friends claimed he hesitated at the door, phone in hand, staring at a message he never sent. Yandy was home, handling family matters, trusting that the man she stood by through storms and public judgment wouldn't be the reason for another headline. But fate, or temptation, had other plans waiting in the shadows. When Erica entered, everything shifted. The energy changed, conversations slowed, and more than a few heads turned. People noticed the look Mendeecees gave her, not shocked, not angry, but familiar. Too familiar, the kind of look that carries memories, unfinished business, and emotions buried but never gone. Sources said they didn't speak at first. They didn't need to. Years of history filled the silence between them, heavier than any words. Drinks were poured, laughter echoed, and somewhere between the music and the dim lights, lines blurred. By the time they were seen leaving together, phones were already out. Someone snapped a blurry photo, another sent a voice note, and just like that, the night stopped belonging to them and became public property. Fans would later dissect every detail, every angle, every timestamp. But in that moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the choice that had already been made. A car pulled off into the night, and with it went the illusion that this story would stay private. By morning, Yandy felt it before she heard it. That quiet tension in the air, the way people avoid eye contact, the sudden kindness that feels more like pity. Then the messages came. Screenshots, links, one after another, until denial wasn't an option anymore. Friends rushed to her side, voices overlapping, anger spilling out faster than comfort. They wanted her furious. They wanted her loud. They wanted fireworks. But Yandy didn't give them that. She listened. She watched, and she stayed silent. Inside, though emotions ran high, betrayal clawed at her chest. not just because of the night itself, but because of who it involved. Erica wasn't just another name. She represented an old wound, one Yandy believed had healed. Memories flashed back, moments of insecurity she thought she had conquered, and questions she never wanted to ask again. Was it curiosity? Was it ego? Or was it something deeper that never truly disappeared? The not knowing hurt more than the rumor itself. When Mendeecees finally walked through the door later that day, the house felt heavier than usual. The air was thick, suffocating. He tried to speak, but Yandy raised her hand, stopping him before a single excuse could form. Her voice was calm, almost too calm, and that scared him more than yelling ever could. She didn't ask what happened, she asked why, and that question hung between them, unanswered, echoing louder than any accusation. He admitted to the night, but minimized it, said it was nothing, said it didn't mean anything, said Erica was a mistake. The words fell flat. Yandy stared at him, eyes searching for truth, for remorse, for something real. What she saw instead was fear. Fear of losing her, fear of public judgment, fear of consequences. And that realization cut deeper than anger ever could. News spread fast. Fans are shocked became the phrase attached to every post. Timelines filled with opinions, theories, and outrage. Some defended Yandy, calling her strong, resilient, deserving of better. Others blamed her for staying, for forgiving before forgiveness was even announced. The family was left divided. Some urged her to walk away, reminding her of her worth. Others whispered about loyalty, about vows, about keeping a family intact at all costs. Erica, meanwhile, broke her silence in her own way. Cryptic posts, vague captions, a song lyric about regret and desire. Enough to fuel speculation, but not enough to confirm anything. Fans dissected her every move, accusing her of disrespect, of jealousy, of stirring chaos. But those close to her claimed she didn't expect the backlash, didn't expect Yandy's response, and certainly didn't expect forgiveness to even be an option. Behind closed doors, conversations turned raw. Tears were shed. Accusations flew. Mendeecees confessed to feeling lost, pressured, and insecure. Excuses that sounded hollow even to him. Yandy listened, absorbing every word, every flaw, every truth. She spoke about humiliation, about trust broken not just in private but in public. She spoke about her children, about legacy, about the price of staying versus the cost of leaving. And then, in a moment that would later shock millions, Yandy made a decision that no one saw coming. Not friends, not family, not fans. She chose to forgive, not loudly, not publicly, but intentionally. She told Mendeecees forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, and it didn't mean things would ever be the same. It meant she was choosing her peace over chaos, clarity over spectacle. That choice sent ripples through everyone connected to them. But forgiveness didn't close the chapter. It opened a darker, more complicated one. Because while Yandy was trying to rebuild, questions lingered. Could trust really be restored? Would Erica fade from the picture, or remain a shadow over their marriage? And was Mendeecees truly remorseful, or simply relieved? As the public waited for the next move, tension simmered beneath the surface. And what no one realized yet was that the hardest conversations were still ahead, waiting just beyond the fragile calm. The calm didn't last. It never does. Forgiveness may have been spoken, but it didn't erase the images replaying in Yandy's mind or the way trust now felt fragile, like glass already cracked. Every sound in the house felt louder, every silence heavier. Mendeecees tried to act normal, tried to fall back into routine, but nothing about their dynamic was normal anymore. His jokes landed wrong, his apologies felt repetitive, and Yandy, though composed, carried a distance in her eyes that he couldn't bridge with words alone. Outside those walls, the world refused to move on. Fans are shocked, became fans are furious. Live streams popped up analyzing Yandy's body language, her tone, her decision. Some praised her strength, calling her a queen for choosing forgiveness. Others dragged her relentlessly, accusing her of weakness, of settling, of teaching the wrong. Accusing her of weakness, of settling, of teaching the wrong lesson. Comments flooded in by the thousands, and every opinion seemed louder than the last. Yandy avoided reading them, but they found her anyway through friends, through family, through the subtle looks people gave her in public. Family dinners turned tense. One relative finally said what others had been thinking, asking her how she could forgive something so public, so humiliating. Yandy answered calmly, but her voice cracked just enough to reveal the weight she carried. She explained that forgiveness wasn't approval, it was survival. It was choosing not to let one night define her entire life. But not everyone accepted that explanation. The family was left divided. lines drawn between those who supported her choice and those who quietly judged it. Mendeecees felt the shift. Friends distanced themselves, some out of loyalty to Yandy, others out of discomfort. A few pulled him aside, telling him he was lucky, telling him not to mess up again. Others were less kind, reminding him that public forgiveness didn't erase private damage. He nodded, agreed, promised change, but deep down, he struggled with guilt that refused to fade. Every time Yandy looked at him, he wondered if she truly forgave him or if she was simply waiting for the pain to dull. Then came the first twist no one expected. Erica reached out. Not publicly, not through posts or interviews, but directly. A message that was brief, careful, and loaded with tension. She said she never intended to hurt Yandy. Said the night was a mistake fueled by old emotions and bad timing. Said she respected Yandy's decision, even if she didn't understand it. Yandy stared at the message for a long time before responding, weighing whether silence or honesty would bring her more peace. When she finally replied, her words were firm but controlled. She told Erica the damage was done, regardless of intention. That forgiveness didn't require friendship, and closure didn't mean access. Erica read the message multiple times, reportedly shaken by the lack of anger. She expected rage. She expected insults. Instead, she got boundaries, and that stung in a way she didn't anticipate. News of the message leaked within hours. No one knew how, but suddenly blogs were buzzing again. Fans are shocked all over again. Speculation exploded. Some claimed Erica was trying to insert herself back into the story. Others believed she was seeking redemption. The narrative shifted rapidly, and once again Yandy found herself at the center of a storm she never asked for. The pressure began to show. Sleepless nights, quiet tears, moments where Yandy questioned her own strength. She confided in a close friend, admitting that forgiveness was harder than anger. Anger would have been easy, clean, explosive. Forgiveness was slow, heavy, and lonely. It required facing the hurt every day instead of burning it down and walking away. Mendeecees tried therapy, tried gestures, tried proving himself. But trust doesn't rebuild on effort alone, and Yandy made that clear. She demanded transparency, accountability, and time. Lots of time. She told him healing wasn't linear, and there would be days she couldn't look at him without remembering. He accepted it, or at least tried to, knowing he had no right to rush her process. Then another twist hit. An old friend of Erica's went live late one night, hinting that the story wasn't over, that the night in question wasn't as simple as everyone believed. Cryptic words, half-smiles, and vague warnings sent fans into a frenzy. What wasn't being said felt louder than what was. People started asking new questions. Was there more than one night? Was forgiveness premature? Was Yandy missing a piece of the truth? Yandy saw the live clip the next morning. Her heart sank. Doubt crept back in, undoing weeks of emotional work in seconds. She confronted Mendeecees again, this time with less restraint. Her voice shook. Her hands trembled. She demanded the full truth, not the softened version he thought she could handle. The room filled with tension as he realized partial honesty was no longer enough. He denied anything beyond that night, swore there was nothing else. But hesitation, however brief, was enough to reignite suspicion. Yandy turned away, tears streaming silently, realizing forgiveness without full truth was meaningless. The weight of her decision pressed down harder than ever. As night fell, the house felt colder. Two people under one roof, bound by history and love, yet separated by doubt and fear. Outside, fans waited for the next headline, unaware that behind the scenes, everything was hanging by a thread. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get more complicated, a knock at the door hinted that the past wasn't done knocking, and the next revelation was already stepping inside. The knock wasn't loud, but it echoed through the house like a warning. Yandy froze, her heart racing, every instinct telling her whatever waited on the other side would bring more chaos. Mendeecees glanced toward the door, confused, then back at her, his face tightening with a mix of guilt and fear. Neither of them moved for a moment. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, until the knock came again, firmer this time, impossible to ignore. When Mendeecees finally opened the door, the past stepped right into their living room. A mutual acquaintance, someone connected to Erica but close enough to Mendeecees to feel entitled to answers, stood there with a tense smile and a phone already in hand. No greeting, no small talk, just straight to the point. They said they couldn't stay quiet anymore. Said Yandy deserved to know everything before making a decision she couldn't take back. Yandy's chest tightened. She sat down slowly, bracing herself. Mendeecees tried to interrupt, to shut it down, but his voice lacked authority. The damage was already in motion. The visitor spoke calmly but deliberately, revealing details that hadn't surfaced yet. They claimed the night wasn't spontaneous, that messages were exchanged days before, that Erica and Mendeecees had talked longer than he admitted, maybe not physical beyond that night, but emotional enough to matter, emotional enough to reopen wounds that never fully closed. Emotions ran high. Yandy felt betrayed all over again, not just by the actions, but by the omissions. She looked at Mendeecees, searching his face for denial, for outrage, for anything that would prove this was a lie. Instead, she saw resignation, the kind that comes when the truth has nowhere left to hide. He didn't scream, he didn't argue, he simply lowered his head, confirming what his silence already had. That moment shattered whatever fragile peace they had built. Forgiveness, Yandy realized, had been offered based on incomplete truth, and that hurt more than the original betrayal. She stood up, voice shaking but controlled, and told the visitor to leave. This wasn't about public drama anymore. This was about her sanity, her dignity, and her future. Once the door closed, the house felt empty in a way she had never experienced before. The argument that followed was raw and unfiltered. Yandy accused Mendeecees of manipulating her grace, of letting her defend him while knowing she didn't have the full story. He tried to explain, said he was scared to lose her, scared the truth would push her away for good. She fired back that lies don't protect relationships, they poison them. Every word landed heavy, stripping away years of shared memories until all that remained was the present pain. Outside, the story continued to spiral. The visitor posted vague comments online, enough to suggest more secrets without revealing specifics. Fans are shocked once again. Theories multiplied. Some believed Mendeecees had fully betrayed, yet others accused Erica of orchestrating the chaos. Live streams, reaction videos, and heated debates flooded the internet. The family was left divided publicly now, not just privately. As relatives hinted at disappointment and concern without naming names, Erica broke her silence again, this time more directly. She denied any long-term emotional involvement, insisting the situation had been exaggerated. She claimed regret, but also frustration at being painted as the villain alone. Her words did little to calm the storm. Instead, they reignited it. Fans questioned her motives. Some sympathized. Others accused her of gaslighting. No matter what she said, the damage had already been done. Yandy watched it all unfold from a distance, feeling strangely detached. She stopped answering calls, stopped checking social media. She focused inward, spending time alone, replaying every moment that led her here. She asked herself hard questions about love, about loyalty, about whether staying was strength or fear, disguised as forgiveness. The answer didn't come easily. Mendeecees tried to fix things, but every attempt felt too late. Apologies lost their power when trust was fractured. Gestures felt performative under the weight of public scrutiny. He admitted to feeling exposed, ashamed, and terrified of losing his family. Yandy listened, but her heart remained guarded. She told him forgiveness was no longer automatic. It had conditions now: honesty, consistency, and space. Space was the hardest part. Nights alone, forced reflection, neither of them could escape. Mendeecees confronted the consequences of his choices without Yandy's presence to soften the blow. Yandy confronted the reality that love doesn't always protect you from pain. Sometimes it invites it in. Then came another unexpected twist. A private recording surfaced, not of the night itself, but of a conversation between Erica and a confidant, recorded weeks earlier. In it, Erica spoke about unresolved feelings, about curiosity, about wanting closure she never got. She didn't claim a relationship, but she admitted the pull was real. The clip spread fast, adding fuel to an already raging fire. Fans dissected every word. Some felt it proved Mendeecees wasn't the only one at fault. Others believed it confirmed emotional betrayal. Yandy heard the recording late at night, sitting alone in her room. She closed her eyes, absorbing the truth she had tried to ignore. This wasn't just about a night. It was about boundaries crossed long before that night ever happened. By morning, Yandy made a quiet decision. Not final, not dramatic, but firm. She told Mendeecees they needed time apart, not for punishment, but for clarity. She needed to know who she was without constantly defending his mistakes. He didn't argue. He knew this was coming. Watching her walk away, even temporarily, felt heavier than any public backlash. As the sun rose, the narrative shifted again. Fans waited, critics speculated, friends whispered, and while the world debated whether forgiveness was still possible, Yandy stepped into uncertainty, knowing the next chapter would force her to choose between the love she had fought for and the peace she desperately needed. Time apart sounded simple when Yandy said it, but living it was something else entirely. The house felt unfamiliar without Mendeecees' presence, like a stage after the lights go out. Every corner held memories, both good and painful. And silence had a way of amplifying thoughts she'd been pushing aside for years. She tried to focus on routine, on family, on work, but her mind kept circling back to the same question. Had she been strong? Or had she been afraid to let go? Mendeecees stayed elsewhere, telling himself the distance was temporary, that this was just another hurdle they would overcome. But alone, stripped of Yandy's steady presence, guilt grew louder. Nights were restless. Regret crept in during quiet moments, forcing him to confront parts of himself he had avoided. For the first time, there was no one shielding him from the full weight of his choices. No explanations, softened by love. Just consequences. Outside their private struggle, the narrative refused to slow down. Fans are shocked once again as rumors of the separation leaked. Some celebrated it, calling it overdue. Others mourned it, insisting real love requires forgiveness and patience. Reaction videos analyzed every detail, every facial expression from old clips, every word Yandy had ever spoken about loyalty. The family was left divided publicly now, with some relatives subtly liking posts about self-worth, while others shared messages about unity and faith. Yandy avoided addressing the noise, but she couldn't escape the emotional toll. One evening, surrounded by close friends, she finally let her guard down. Tears fell freely as she admitted how exhausted she felt from being strong all the time. She confessed that forgiveness had cost her more than anger ever would have. Her friends listened, some in silence, some offering comfort, all realizing that behind the calm exterior was a woman stretched thin by love and disappointment. Meanwhile, Erica felt the backlash intensify. Opportunities slowed, comments turned harsher. She claimed to be moving on, focusing on herself, but those close to her noticed a shift. Regret mixed with defensiveness. She insisted she never meant to dismantle a family, yet couldn't deny the role she played. Late-night conversations revealed her own internal conflict, questioning why old emotions still held power over her decisions. Another twist surfaced when someone close to the circle hinted that producers were interested in capturing the fallout. Cameras hovering nearby reignited tension. Yandy rejected the idea immediately. This chapter, she decided, wouldn't be turned into entertainment at her expense. Mendeecees, however, felt torn. Part of him believed transparency could help rebuild trust. Another part knew exposing their pain would only deepen the wounds. During their first conversation since the separation, emotions ran high. They met in a neutral space, guarded but honest. Mendeecees spoke about therapy, about confronting his patterns, about understanding why he sought validation outside his marriage. Yandy listened carefully, asking hard questions, refusing vague answers. She told him love wasn't enough anymore. Accountability had to be consistent, not reactive. For a moment, it felt like progress. Then doubt crept back in. Trust, once broken twice, doesn't rebuild eyes. Yandy admitted she didn't know if she could ever fully relax with him again, if she'd always be waiting for the next betrayal. Mendeecees didn't argue. He acknowledged the damage, accepting that forgiveness didn't guarantee reconciliation. News of their meeting leaked, sparking another wave of speculation. Fans are shocked by how restrained Yandy appeared, how composed yet distant. Some claimed she had already made up her mind. Others believed this was just the beginning of healing. The truth lay somewhere in between, uncertain and fragile. Late one night, Yandy reflected alone, writing down her thoughts, trying to untangle love from habit, forgiveness from fear. She realized that forgiving Mendeecees didn't obligate her to stay. It simply freed her from carrying hatred. That realization shifted something inside her. Clarity, though painful, brought a strange sense of peace. Mendeecees felt that shift too. Conversations grew more honest, less defensive. He stopped trying to convince her and started listening. He admitted that forgiveness was a gift he hadn't earned and might never fully deserve. That humility, though late, resonated differently than past apologies. Still, uncertainty lingered. Erica's shadow hadn't fully disappeared, and public scrutiny remained relentless. One careless post, one misinterpreted move could undo everything. Yandy knew whatever choice she made next would define not just her relationship, but her sense of self. As days turned into weeks, the story evolved from scandal to introspection. Betrayal had ignited it, but healing, or the pursuit of it, now shaped the narrative. The question wasn't just whether Yandy would stay or leave. It was whether love, once fractured so deeply, could ever be rebuilt without losing oneself in the process. And as both of them stood at that crossroads, neither knew which path would demand the greater courage. The weeks that followed felt like walking through fog. Nothing was clear. Everything felt slow, and every decision carried weight. Yandy moved through her days with intention, but not certainty. She smiled when she needed to, spoke when required, and stayed quiet when words felt too dangerous. Inside, emotions ran high in ways she couldn't always control. Anger would flare unexpectedly, then dissolve into sadness, then into exhaustion. Healing, she realized, wasn't graceful. It was messy, uneven, and often lonely. Mendeecees, on the other hand, felt like he was living in the consequences of a life he had taken for granted. The separation stripped him of comfort and forced accountability in ways no argument ever had. Therapy sessions dug deeper than he expected, uncovering insecurities, entitlement, and patterns he never wanted to admit. Each realization hit hard, especially when he understood how much of Yandy's patience he had leaned on without truly honoring it. Their communication became infrequent but intentional. Short conversations, honest updates, no promises, no pressure. Yandy made it clear she wasn't testing him, she was protecting herself. That boundary changed the dynamic completely. Mendeecees stopped performing remorse and started sitting with discomfort. For the first time, he wasn't trying to win her back. He was trying to understand himself. Outside, the world continued to speculate. Fans are shocked by the lack of drama. No explosive interviews, no public feuds, no clear villain arc. That silence confused people more than chaos ever could. Some claimed Yandy was plotting a grand reveal. Others said she was quietly preparing to leave for good. The family was left divided in their assumptions too, unsure whether to brace for reconciliation or separation. Erica attempted to move forward publicly, posting about growth and reactions were mixed. Some applauded her honesty. Others accused her of rewriting history. She insisted she was done with the situation, but the internet wasn't ready to let it go. Every post, every appearance, was filtered through the lens of the scandal. She felt trapped by a narrative she helped create but could no longer control. Another unexpected twist surfaced when an old text exchange leaked. Not explicit, but emotionally charged. Messages between Mendeecees and Erica from months before the night in question. Nothing physical. No plans. Just familiarity. Inside jokes. Emotional closeness. Enough to confirm what Yandy already suspected. The betrayal hadn't started that night. It started long before. Yandy saw the texts without shock. Only sadness. Confirmation didn't hurt as much as realization. She understood now why forgiveness felt hollow at times. She had forgiven an event, not a pattern. That distinction changed everything. She confronted Mendeecees calmly, showing him the messages, asking nothing except honesty. He didn't deny them. He didn't justify them. He admitted he crossed emotional boundaries long before physical ones. That admission marked a turning point. Not dramatic, not loud, but real. Yandy told him she needed to grieve the relationship she thought she had before she could decide if there was space to build something new. He accepted that without argument. For once, he didn't ask how long. He just listened. The public reaction to the leaked texts was explosive. Fans are shocked yet again. Debates erupted about emotional cheating versus physical betrayal. Some minimized it. Others argued it was worse. The family was left divided in opinion, but united in concern for Yandy's messages of support poured in privately. Even from people who once criticized her decision to forgive. Alone, one evening, Yandy reflected on her journey. She acknowledged her strength but also her pain. She recognized that forgiveness wasn't about saving a marriage, it was about freeing herself from bitterness. Staying, she realized, would require a completely new foundation. Leaving would require courage of a different kind. Neither path was easy. Mendeecees began to show change, not through words, but consistency. No grand gestures, no public statements, just accountability, therapy, transparency. Patience, whether it would be enough, remained uncertain. But the effort felt different this time. Less desperate, more grounded. As time passed, Yandy felt something unexpected. Peace, not happiness, not closure, just peace. The kind that comes from clarity, even when answers are painful. She stopped rushing toward an outcome. She allowed herself to exist in the in-between. The story, once fueled by scandal, now simmered quietly. Tension remained, but so did growth. Betrayal had shaken everything, but introspection was reshaping it. Whether this would end in reconciliation or separation was still unknown. What was clear, however, was that Yandy was no longer reacting. She was choosing, and that choice, whatever it became, would finally be hers. Peace didn't mean the absence of pain. It meant Yandy finally understood it. She stopped trying to explain herself to everyone else and started listening to what her own instincts had been whispering all along. Late nights turned into long reflections, and long reflections into quiet decisions. She wasn't rushing anymore, and that alone shifted the power dynamic. For the first time since the scandal broke, she wasn't reacting to Mendeecees, Erica, fans, or family. She was responding to herself. Mendeecees felt that shift immediately. Her tone changed. Her energy changed. She was no longer asking questions to catch him in lies. She was asking questions to understand if there was anything left to save. That scared him more than anger ever did. Anger meant passion. This calm meant clarity, and clarity had the power to end everything. Their conversations grew deeper but less frequent. When they spoke, there were no distractions, no phones, no defensiveness. Mendeecees admitted things he had never said out loud, about craving validation, about feeling unseen despite having a family that loved him, about using attention as a way to escape his own insecurities. None of it excused his behavior, and he knew that. He said it anyway because honesty was the only thing left he could offer. Yandy listened without interrupting, without tears, without blame, and when he finished, she said something that stayed with him long after the conversation ended. She told him love shouldn't require someone to shrink themselves to keep another person satisfied. That hit hard, because he realized how often Yandy had carried emotional weight quietly, protecting him while neglecting herself. Outside, the narrative started to change again. Fans are shocked by Yandy's restraint. Some admired her silence, calling it powerful. Others grew impatient, demanding answers, outcomes, closure, but she gave none. No statements, no interviews, no hints. The mystery frustrated people, but it also commanded respect. She wasn't feeding the machine anymore. Erica, meanwhile, felt the story slipping out of her control. Attention faded slowly, but criticism lingered. She attempted one last clarification through a subtle post about accountability and growth, but it landed flat. The public had already chosen its focus. This was no longer about her. It was about Yandy's decision, and that realization forced Erica to confront her own role without the comfort of relevance. Another layer of tension emerged when extended family members attempted to intervene. Some urged reconciliation, reminding Yandy of history, of shared struggles, of the man Mendeecees had been at his best. Others urged her to walk away, warning her not to confuse forgiveness with obligation. The family was left divided once again, but this time, Yandy didn't absorb the conflict. She acknowledged their concern and maintained her boundaries. One evening, Yandy and Mendeecees met again, not to argue, not to reconcile, but to reflect. They spoke about their children, about the example they wanted to set. Yandy said something that surprised him. She said staying in a broken relationship teaches just as much as leaving one does. The lesson depends on whether healing is real or forced. She told him she wasn't afraid of being alone. She was afraid of losing herself. Mendeecees admitted he had taken her forgiveness for granted at first, that he mistook her grace for endurance. Saying it out loud felt like confession and punishment combined. He acknowledged that even if she chose to leave, the work he was doing had to continue. Not for her, for himself. That statement marked another subtle shift. For the first time, his growth didn't seem conditional. The internet, sensing a turning point, buzzed with speculation. Fans are shocked by rumors that Yandy might be preparing for a major announcement. Some believed it would be reconciliation. Others were convinced it would be separation. Reaction videos dissected her past words, her posture, her silence. But none of them truly knew where her heart stood. Alone again, Yandy weighed her options honestly. She imagined life staying, imagined the work, the vigilance, the slow rebuilding of trust. Then she imagined life leaving, imagined the grief, the freedom, the uncertainty. Neither path felt easy. Both demanded courage, but only one felt aligned with who she was becoming. Days passed, then weeks, and finally, clarity didn't arrive as a dramatic revelation, but as quiet acceptance. Yandy realized her forgiveness had already done its job. It freed her from anger. It allowed truth to surface. It gave Mendeecees the chance to face himself. What came next didn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. When she finally told Mendeecees she was ready to make a decision, her voice was steady. She said, whatever choice she made wouldn't erase the love they shared or the family they built. It would simply honor the truth of where they stood now. He listened, heart pounding, knowing this moment would define everything. The story that once exploded with scandal now rested on a single choice. Not driven by fear, not driven by pressure, but guided by some. And as Yandy prepared to step forward, one way or another, the world waited, unaware that the final twist wouldn't be loud, messy, or explosive. It would be quiet, deliberate, and irreversible. And now it's over to you. Because this story doesn't end on the screen. It continues in the minds and hearts of everyone watching. After everything you've just heard, every betrayal, every tear, every moment where emotions ran high and the family was left divided, the biggest question still hangs in the air. Did Yandy make the right choice? Or was forgiveness a risk that cost her more than it gave back? This isn't just celebrity drama. This is about love, boundaries, pride, and the kind of strength that doesn't always look loud. Fans are shocked not just by what happened, but by how it unfolded. No screaming matches on camera, no instant revenge, no rushed decisions. Just a woman choosing herself in a world that kept demanding a spectacle. And that's why this story has people so divided. Some of you believe forgiveness is powerful. Some of you believe walking away is the only real victory. And some of you are still torn, unsure what you would do if you were standing in her place. Think about it. If you gave someone grace and later learned the truth was bigger than you were told, would you stay and rebuild, or would you leave and protect your peace? Would you see forgiveness as strength, or as a door left open too long? This situation forces you to look inward, and that's why it's hitting so hard. It's not just about Yandy Smith, or Mendeecees Harris, or even Erica Mena. It's about what you believe love should look like when trust is broken. So now we want to hear from you. Drop a comment right now and tell us your honest opinion. Should forgiveness come with limits? Or should betrayal always be the end? Do you think Yandy's calm was strength? Or do you think silence sometimes hides pain that hasn't healed yet? Your voice matters. And this comment section is where the real conversation happens. If this story made you think, if it made you feel something, if it kept you listening all the way through, make sure you hit that like button. It lets us know you want more deep, dramatic breakdowns like this one. And if you're new here, don't just watch and leave. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next twist. Because stories like this are never really over. There's always another chapter, another revelation, another moment that changes everything. Turn on your notifications so you're the first to know when we drop the next video. Trust us, you don't want to hear about the next shock from someone else's timeline. Be part of the conversation as it unfolds. Be part of the community that doesn't just consume drama, but dissects it, questions it, and learns from it. And before you go, ask yourself one last thing. If you were in her position, with the world watching, the past haunting you, and the future uncertain, what would you choose? Forgiveness or freedom? Let us know below. We'll see you in the next video. Or freedom. Let us know below. We'll see you in the next video.